after graduation. I was working at La Pal House at Coopers and Libran. You know, going through the traffic, and then there was no Third Mainland Bridge. And then going through the traffic and getting down to the island every day, or going through Oshodi, where you need to have a human traffic. You need to ask somebody to step out so you can put your feet. And Lagos of today, there is something to appreciate, that we have come a long way, albeit that there is still a long way to go. Second, I would disappoint many who would expect me to comment on the economy. I'll start by disappointing Pastor Oyemade. Or to use this forum to offer another, quote, blueprint for economic reforms. I have access to the federal government to offer my advice, if any, and this platform cannot serve the purpose. But let's be clear, and I'm not shy to say this, that the audacious structural reforms embarked upon by the current administration of His Excellency Bola Tinubu GCFR have rescued the economy from the tipping point. The endorsement by the World Bank, the IMF, the London Financial Times, rating agencies such as Fitch, Moody's, etc., in my view, are well deserved. Of course, many people know that I made a living criticizing the World Bank and the IMF. I made quite tons of money criticizing even books, which one of my books was, they told me at the World Bank bookshop, it was their bestseller at some point. As governor of Anambra, I have even rejected a World Bank loan because of the terms. But on the matter of the trajectory of the current economic reforms, the World Bank and others, in my view, are largely right. Funny enough, when these institutions criticize the government, some people use them as validation of their own criticisms. But when the same institutions give a positive report, they are derided as, quote, neoliberal, out-of-touch institutions. In 2023, I had described the state of the economy when this government assumed office as akin to a standing dead horse. And public finance was about to tip from insolvency with potential catastrophic consequences, including possible mass retrenchment of workers and or arrears of salaries and pension. You see, when the previous administration passed the 2023 budget that had a clause that subsidies will end by end of June, it was an indication we had reached the end. You could go no further. There's a limit to which you can continue to print money, to do business. And the consequences of hyper or high inflation were just predictable. I'm one of those who raised the alarms at some point, and at some point I had to say to the regime then, with the then governor of Central Bank, and I'm happy to say this publicly, in one session, coming back to rule of law, I had said to them that this printing of money, illegally, printing of naira, if the CBN Act, the provisions were obeyed, there was no time that you could have had more than 500 billion standing as ways and means. None. But they were obdurately, illegally printing money, went to 1 trillion, 2 trillion, 10 trillion, 12 trillion. That was when I said at a meeting, Governor, obey the law or amend the law. The way you are going was tipping the economy into the Atlantic Ocean. And what he said then, the response was, come and imprison me. I am helping the country. I knew that that particular act of printing money, and they printed up to 20-something trillion and poured into the system, and you expect the exchange rate to remain the same, inflation to remain the same, and so on and so forth. That's a joke. Elementary economics tells us that that was the recipe for disaster. And we met it. So when I make the point that we had, if you didn't do the kind of, subsidy removal and all of those things that had to, or dealing with the exchange rate, nobody was going to invest with the multiple exchange rate regime and the arrears that were not paying people and so on and so forth. We had reached where the economy was just standing still, couldn't move any further. And you needed a fundamental rejigging for it to begin to breathe again. And thank God, at least we're here, but still a long way to go. So public finance is back on a solvency path. and macro fundamentals are recovering positively. Yes, there are still a lot more to do, but I urge the president and his team to stay the course. Many analysts have interesting opinions, unquote, but I urge them to go deeper, conduct rigorous counterfactual analysis, and provide credible alternatives. As a friend said recently, the task is always easy, especially if you are not the one doing it. It's always easy. They should just fix power. They should just fix, build roads. They should just... That's what somebody said to me.